remember, all the verdicts were in. And on this verdict sheet, you can see the handwriting of Douglas Bates II. You know, as he's scribbling, you know, sometimes you do in trial, you're just sort of writing, you're not even sure what you're writing, you're just embarrassed to sit there not doing anything, so you write. You can kind of see that guy doing this. But he wrote something by each name. 36 names have an H next to them. It's the verdict. Hung by the neck till dead. Shortly after, he wrote his wife again. And he says, "Thursday was a day that I'll never forget, though I would very much like to. 36 of the 40 defendants were sentenced to death. It shocked everybody. One cannot work night and day with 40 men for 6 weeks without having a feeling of comradeship." I thought that was such an interesting and telling word from a military person to use. The happenings of Thursday tore my heart completely out. After the court adjourned, the defendants filed by and shook our hands, thanking us for the fight we lost. Strong German men with tears in their eyes, streaming down their cheeks, but not sobbing, telling us Americans that they could not have had better defenders from anywhere. God, Kitty, can my heart stand much more? A German newspaper man came up to me later and said, "Colonel, we watched the gallant struggle that you made. We see and understand that you are moved by the sentences. The German people admire you a great deal." Well, I excused myself fast. And finally, a picture of that moment when the defendants are filing out of the courtroom, all shaking his hand. It's a wonderful story. It's true, obviously. And the book, Justice at Dachau, has an interesting subtitle. Are you ready for this? It says, "Trials of an American Prosecutor." Justice at Dachau, Trials of an American Prosecutor. Now, I don't mean to be flippant, but the three-man in County Court number 2, who I can say because she's here and she's my daughter, would have gotten the same verdicts. It wasn't the prosecutor who was the center of the story. The true hero of the story was the defense lawyer. And the author misses the point of the whole thing. You know, the trials were not about whether these persons were guilty or not. That was a foregone deal. The trial was to show the world that we as Americans have trials and the rule of law. And here is a person who participated in that trial and in my opinion, better represented those values than any person. That was Douglas Bates. The theme, the takeaway is, to me, is that there is nobility, there is virtue, there is dignity in the simple fulfillment of duty. And that's what we do. So we've had a pity party. We've looked at the crummy things about what we do. We found inspiration in the lawyers that have gone before us. So there I am. My next step was I did this. I just made a decision. I made a decision in my life that I'm not going to speak negatively anymore about my profession, that I'm going to connect back into the big picture, that I am going to be the guy that the framers of the Constitution were counting on. and needed when they wrote that thing. Even in a DWLS, in the holdover in County Court 2. Because the principles are the same there. So how do I make that decision come true? Here's what I did. I used what lawyers use. Our stock in trade, our most powerful tool, words. Just words. Just words. I learned something about me, and it was taught to me by a handful of people I read. There's a whole field of science on this. It's the power of positive words. I read Napoleon Hill and watched Wayne Dyer, the great Wayne Dyer, who said, change the way you see things and things change. The power of positive words was important to me, and it worked for me. And it became a math equation. Words have the power to change your perception. Your perception is your reality, therefore words can change your reality. Let me say it again. Words have the power to change your perception. Your perception is your reality. What you perceive to be true is true. Therefore, words can change your reality. So I started I gave up on negativity. I gave up on saying another bad thing about my profession. Instead, I did the opposite. I started using affirmations. I would get in my car in the morning, and I'd grip the steering wheel, and I'd say, first I didn't say it, I'd just kind of think it. It would be this: I am honored to be a lawyer. I am privileged to go to the courthouse, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to help people. And then I found it would be better if my brain could not only just think it, but hear it. To actually hear it. I'm honored to be a lawyer. I'm privileged to go to the courthouse, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to help others. I'd say it every day, and as often as I could, as often I could think about it. And it made me really, it made me feel good, and it started to ultimately change my perception. So those words are so important to me, I'm going to ask you to indulge me. This is not for you, this is for me. I'd ask you to tell me this: I am honored to be a lawyer. I am privileged to go to the courthouse. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to help others. Words shape my perception, and what Wayne Dyer said about changing the way you see things and things change worked. So now, I'm a different guy, all right? I'm cooler to be around at the house. I think I'm a better lawyer. And I'm no longer another day in paradise guy. Instead, I am never better guy. Never better guy. And what I do is when people ask me how I'm doing, what I say to them is I am never better. It's my habit. And I've gotten really, really good at it. It started with, never better. Now it's, Casey, man, I have never been better. The more enthusiastically you say it, the better you feel, the more real it becomes for you. And guess what? It impacts the people you tell it to. Yesterday, I was walking out of the criminal courthouse. This happens all the time. Murph, how you doing? Man, I've never been better. And it's stop and shock, and people almost drop what they're holding. And then they usually say this. They usually say something like, wow, it is so good to hear that. It's really good to hear somebody around here who has a positive outlook and thought. All right, let's push play back on the movie. I am unable to resolve my case in Judge Hardass's court, and so I'm headed to the elevator lobby. And in the lobby, with my client, I see a lady who's been crying, and her son or husband has maybe just been sentenced to go to prison, or maybe she was the victim. I see a young couple who are giggly and kissing and happy, and he's got that piece of paper of the right color, you know, his copy of the Nolly. I see a lawyer and his client, and the lawyer is speaking to his client rudely and loudly and indiscreetly and embarrassed about things they shouldn't be talking about in public, you know, their case, about money. And it embarrasses me. And so I get out of the courthouse and I walk outside, and across the street I see something. I see a shiny building. I see the civil courthouse. It's shiny and it's on top of all these stairs. It's as if it's on a pedestal. And the architecture there of the building is dignified. And it's not so chaotic or weird or nutty outside. There are nice cars pulling up. And there are people in nice suits getting out of the cars. And they have nice briefcases. And it seems more organized. And I turn around and I see our courthouse. And the doors don't work. And it's dirty. And there are people milling around, and they're defendants and family and lawyers, and they've hustled out of court to get a quick cigarette. And the architecture of this building doesn't quite scream reverence for the law. It screams more of reverence for the low bidder, you know? But I also see what is inside the courthouse. And I see us, the criminal defense lawyer. I see the criminal defense lawyer who is protecting and preserving the presumption of innocence and the right to trial and the rule of law and the right to a lawyer and freedom itself. I see us, the criminal defense lawyer, who's fulfilling a role that is as dignified, as honorable, as patriotic as any role anyone fills in America. I see us, the criminal defense lawyer, who when we fulfill that role, we bring immeasurable honor and distinction to ourselves and to our profession, even when we're the only ones who know it. I see us, I see the criminal defense lawyer, and I know that day and every day that I'm allowed to go and privileged to go to that courthouse, that it really is another day in paradise. So, I wish you the best of luck on all your cases. Be positive, be strong. Call me if you need an attaboy or an attagirl. And thank you. Thank you very much.
I kind of feel like I'm channeling Rob Fickman, because I want to say, thank you, Brother Murphy. George Murphy channeled a lot of the emotions that go along with being a criminal defense attorney, and it's good to hear that. It's good to feel that along with them, and I'm so happy that he was willing to come out and share that with us and you know, give us that energy and that vigor to go and fight for our clients, which I know all of us want to do, and that's why you're here. A big part